Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Trevor. I'm speaking to you from Orlando today in America. I'm staying with Paul and Rachel, who I'm sure many of you will know quite well from their time with us. Rachel was a pretty long-term volunteer with us over there in the church and at Genesis, and it's just lovely to reconnect with these good people again. I'm standing early morning in the beautiful Orlando, one of the beautiful Orlando forests, which Orlando is a land of lots of little dams and little forests and stuff around, and you can have a look, and it's absolutely stunning. So really good to just be here today. But I want to take you to our devotion for today, and we're still in the book of Judges, and we're into chapter 7 right now, and it's just such an interesting passage. We're talking about what it means to trust the outrageous plans of God. I guess that's the best way I can term this right now. And chapter 6 and chapter 7 have got two quite outrageous things that God has done, because God is able to do anything. We all know that. But I want to take you to chapter 6 first of all and talk to you about a legitimate kind of testing. This is the kind of testing that Gideon did. And we often have just one model of faith. We have the model of faith that is just instant obedience, and you've heard me say this before, that instant obedience is the only form of obedience, because if it's not instant, then it's disobedience. But I got to tell you, sometimes there are exceptions to some of these rules. And here we find Gideon being instructed by God very specifically to do certain things. But he's nervous, and he's testing, and he's wanting to know from God, is this really you speaking to me? The first test that he did was the test of, is this really God speaking? And he knew that it was. And he built an altar there to say, God is my peace. I'm now at peace with the fact that God has spoken to me. But then he takes it a step further, because God instructs him what to do. And we see how Gideon then laid his fleece before the Lord. You've heard that term before. This is where it comes from. He said to God, I hope you don't mind, God, but I just want to test a little bit more. Would it be okay if I took a sheep's fleece and put it out in the middle of an open field? And if I come back in the morning and that thing is full of water, then I will know that you have truly spoken to me. So he does that, comes back in the morning and it's full of water. He wrings the water out. And then he says, Lord, I hope you don't mind, but I'd like to do one more test. Can we do the fleece test again? But this time the other way around. Can the ground be wet and the fleece be dry? And so he does it, and God honors that, and God gives him the answer to his dilemma. Now from this I'm beginning to learn that there is another model of faith, and it's the model of faith that is a calculated thing. We often talk about radical faith as being that instant obedience, kind of like when Peter was walking on the water, and Jesus said to him, get out the boat, and Peter obeyed instantly. And there are many beautiful examples of this radical trusting of God by way of instant obedience. And then we find Gideon, and we find another model of what faith could look like. And it's that calculated faith. And I wonder if Jesus wasn't referring to this calculated kind of faith when he was talking about, if a man goes out to war, does he not calculate, first of all, the size of his army to see if he's able to come up against the enemy? And Jesus says, count the cost. And then Jesus said, is it not true that a man who wants to build a house should first check to see if he has the finance and he has the wherewithal to build a house? Because there's nothing worse than a half-built house. And so Jesus is talking to us here about a different kind of faith. And we tend to glorify the other kind, don't we? Because it's so exceptional. But here's a model of faith that was calculated. He tested it. He checked it out to make sure that he didn't miss a thing. And I love this, because this is a beautiful picture of maybe what we could do a whole lot better. Maybe as we count the cost, as we call groups of people together, as we counsel together to discern the will of God, could well be a good thing. And you know what it could do? It could keep us out of a lot of trouble. So the idea of having counsel from people, the idea of giving God the test of time, which is sometimes the greatest test of the will of God. If it's a good idea today, that's wonderful. But if it's still a good idea in 6 months' time, then you must know that maybe God is indeed saying something to you. So I want to honor today those people who who really test the will of God. They test it. They put their fleece before the Lord so that they don't embarrass God by saying things that God is not saying. They call groups of people around to check that this is the right thing to do. Guys, it's a great model of faith. And God honors it as much as He does the radical, instant, obedient form of faith. So well done to you who calculate this, who work it out, who test it to make sure don't embarrass God by doing something that's going to fail because it's not His will. Maybe we could learn a lot from Gideon's fleece test today. Think about it. Go and read the passage, Judges chapter 6, and think about that today. But guys, God bless you. I'm looking forward to getting home soon, and we'll be there. See you. Bye.